Yo, what's going on, y'all? It's your boy SoSo, and welcome back to the channel. Make sure you're hitting that like, comment, and subscribe button, and more importantly, turn on those notifications. That way you guys get notified when we drop hits like this. This week, the Dolphins are on the clock as draft day approaches. The Heat sneak their way into the playoffs to face the #1 seed, and the Panthers face a familiar foe when they start their playoff run. It's time to take a ride, y'all. Let's go! And Joel is on the clock, just like the Dolphins. You have 13 seconds to pick. Quick, who are you taking right now?
For what? What am I picking?
I don't know. I just wanted to put you on.
Jeez, bro, don't do that to me. You just gave me a heart attack there.
You know what you do have to pick? You have to pick all the groupings for Friday, Saturday's round.
Yeah, I did all that.
Make sure all the fucking handicaps are legit.
I did all that. I'm working on all that. God, bro, this is always fun. Always fun to, have to do all this golf trip prep.
It makes it really like a big reward at the end, right? When you get to see, like, especially for you, right? Because you go through all the trouble of like planning it, finding the location, all that stuff, just to see everybody enjoying themselves. Like, you get those few moments to yourself where you're like, I created this shit.
Yeah,
you assholes are welcome.
That is fun. That is nice to reflect when it's finally there. But everything leading up to it, man, God, you know how difficult that. I mean, the group chat's been popping today, dog.
It's been on fire. And what's really
a lot of back and forth.
What's really great about it is that, as the day gets closer, everybody's participation in the chat, it starts to increase, right? Like, even the guys who don't normally chat or they don't really look at their phones all day and shit like that, you'll still start to see random messages from them. And you're like, oh shit,
where's this guy been?
Where's this guy been? All right. Where the hell have you been for the past 4 days? We've been talking about this.
Yep.
But yeah, it's gonna be a great time, and I think that we're setting it up to be an amazing tournament for the guys, man.
Oh yeah, I can't wait. I know we keep talking about it every time we do this, but that's not what we're here to talk about, man. I got all these mosquitoes driving me crazy today.
Yeah, we're here to talk about mosquitoes.
We're not here to talk about, blood-sucking mosquitoes. No. We're here to talk about
a blood-sucking franchise.
Oh.
Yeah, that was a little
harsh.
All right,
that was harsh. I was trying to find a way to get there too,
that might
without
have been
using
a little harsh.
that terminology, but yeah, dog, we're trying to find a way to support this Dolphins franchise coming up for the draft.
I mean, it's an exciting time, obviously, in football, right? The NFL draft always brings that excitement because for every single team, it's like, all right, what's the new pieces that we're adding that can make us better, get us closer to a division title, get us closer to making the playoffs, getting closer to winning Super Bowl, XYZ. Yeah, like this is where it theoretically can start for a franchise. And let's be honest, the Dolphins are under a lot of pressure, with this 13th pick that they have in the first round. Some would say that you almost have to hit on this pick, no ifs, ands, or buts, regardless of positions, and get yourself a bona fide starter. I'm leaning that way, but I don't want to make it so cut and dry. Like, well, if this guy doesn't work out in the first 6 weeks, he's a bust, and we got to get rid of him and all this stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but we have a good track record, dog. So it's kind of like it's kind of the expectation now that we're going to draft. The people that we do draft now in the first round are going to pan out and produce for us.
Right.
It's not like the days of the Deion Jordans where we trade up for a guy like Deion Jordan.
Those are long gone.
I think those days are kind of behind us. Granted,
sure.
Like, we're still not completely out of that, but I think at least now we're making better decisions. At least credit, I think, to Chris Greer and the front office for picking the right guys. I mean, look, Javon Holland. We drafted that guy a few years ago. Turned out to be, a phenomenal safety, and now he got his bag going for the Giants. So, you know what I mean? Like, we got to find somebody to replace that, O-line. We've had a lot of issues at O-line. Oof. We got to find replacements at O-line. We just had a Teron Armstead that announced retirement. Yep. So, we got to fill that void. Like, we have a lot of needs. So the question is, like, you only get that one first-round pick. What's the most impending need for the Dolphins this draft?
And we have a lot, right? And I think that the biggest question for me when it comes to the Dolphins is like, all right, Chris, are you going to be able to hit this fucking home run with this pick, right? Because you've drafted good players here and there. You know what I mean? Like the running back, Ajayi, we drafted him, worked out great. Not Ajayi, what's the kid's name, dog? The guy
from Tennessee.
From splitting with Mostert.
Texas A&M, though. You're talking, God, come on.
See,
What are we
now
talking
you
about?
forgot his name,
We're
too.
the worst Dolphins fans
he's
in the
not-
world.
but what my
We're not
point-
in Dolphins boat right now, but
My point is that that kid is not a superstar,
why
but
can't
he's
I
a
think of the
good
name right
running
now?
back. He's a good
pulling
running
it up.
back. Look it up, please.
Achan? Are you talking about Achan?
Achan.
Or are you talking about the other kid from
No,
Tennessee?
Achan was another one, but the Tennessee kid is another kid. But neither one of them are stars, game changers.
You don't think Achan has that possibility? I
think
mean, we've
he-
only seen him for 2 seasons,
I
and
don't
he's
think
shown
he is.
highlights.
He would have done it already.
Not with the O-line that he's working with,
He's
so.
gotten the opportunities and
Has he, though?
maybe not the snaps. Another one,
I don't know.
Chop
I don't know
Robinson.
about that.
Right? Chop Robinson came in, obviously needed time to adjust, but looks like a really good player. Doesn't necessarily scream out to you, be like, damn, the Dolphins got the steal of the draft. You know what I mean? We've drafted some duds as well. You know, we drafted
Jalen Wright. God.
Jalen Wright. Shit was killing me. We've drafted some linebackers that really haven't panned out. We've drafted some O-lines that haven't really panned out. Some D-line that hasn't, some cornerbacks and some defensive backs that really haven't panned out. So while we can point to the guys who say, oh shit, you know, we got him in the 3rd round, we got so-and-so in the 4th round, we got so-and-so in the 2nd round. Yeah, those guys have started to work out, but that's a handful of dudes in comparison to the amount of picks that we've had in the last 3-4 years of this current regime, right? With McDaniels and Chris Greer really taking a hold of the franchise. With this 13th pick, you need to make it a home run. It needs to be a guy who's like, damn, this guy's already in Rookie of the Year talks, you know what I mean? Damn, this guy looks like a bona fide fucking veteran already, you know, and he's only 3 weeks into the NFL season. That's the type of impact that I think the Dolphins need from this 13th pick overall. Because you're in a weird position where it might cost you too much to move forward 3 to 4 picks, right, to get a guy that you may really want. Or you're falling back, you know, maybe too far back where you don't get the first pick at some important positions that we can get, right? That's why I think, like, this 13th pick, man, overall needs to be a home run, no doubter. Damn, all the fans are happy. You know, everybody gives us an A++ already, you know, after this draft, just off that pick. Because he needs to be an impactful player. We lost a lot of veterans, right? Some of the veterans on the team are stirring up a lot of shit, right? This team needs an injection of youth, an injection of grind mode mentality. Hey, I'm here to work. I'm here to play my best ball. I'm here to help this team win games. Because I don't know if we have that type of leadership in the locker room anymore.
Yeah, are you alluding to Jalen Ramsey and possibly is he parted officially? He's not gone yet, but
not gone
signs
yet.
are pointing to him possibly being gone.
But yeah,
Tyreek Hill, there's still some speculation there. We don't know what his future with the Dolphins holds. I understand what you're saying completely, and I agree. I think it needs to be a home run, you know, especially for this Dolphins team where the window's closing on it, in my opinion. I think for me, there's 2 things that are the biggest needs for us immediately. And number 1 is the O-line. I keep going back to that. If we can, I don't know what the projections are. Even with projections, people do crazy stuff. There's still people that trade up the day of the draft and this and that. So, you know, I'm not sure exactly who's out there, who's available, but I'd love a Jake Long type of tackle, a big dude, somebody that can really protect Tua. You know what I mean? Somebody
we picked him in the 2nd round last year.
But that's one guy. We need to be able to compliment him, especially when we have injuries to Austin Jackson, Liam Eichenberg. You know, you name it. We're always having injuries. We need guys that can come in, and we need guys that can be healthy and be relied upon you know, game in and game out. That's my biggest thing. We get our O-line figured out, bro. We get more production from the Jalen Wrights, from the Devon Achans, who I think are certified superstars in the making. At least they have the speed and the skill set to be so, as long as we put the tools around them to thrive. So it's on us to do that for them. And then besides that, I think the secondary, you know what I mean? Like you said, you know, Ramsey potentially on the way out, Holland gone officially. We had guys that were on 1-year contracts that we're probably not going to sign again. We have a lot of gaps in that secondary, and we had those gaps last year, and we got cooked by a ton of offenses that we shouldn't have been losing to in certain ways, bro.
Especially deep into the end of the season, right, where you have 4th, 5th, 6th string guys out there trying to figure out how they can hang with the first stringers, right? It's a very important draft, you know. Thankfully, we do have a lot of picks, right? We have 10 picks. One in the first, 13 overall, one in the second, number 48, which is pretty decent, right? It's lower
Top
end,
50 picks.
right? Two top 50 picks. Round number 3, we're at 98, again, right below the middle of the pack. And then in round 4, we have 2 picks, 116, 135. Round 5, 150. Round 5, 155. So pretty much back-to-back picks there. The second one we got from Denver. And the 7th rounder, 2 7th rounders, 231 and 253.
Damn, so 10 picks in total?
10 picks in
I
total.
was not aware we had 10 picks.
Now, like I said earlier, does that mean that you can find the guy in the 5th round that you can possibly put in as a backup, or maybe he emerges and becomes a starter at a position? Yeah, you may be able to find that.
Sure.
Right? But in those first 4 picks, round 1, round 2, round 3, and the beginning of round 4, and even in that second pick in round 4, you know, you got 5 picks where you can theoretically find starters. Find starters. Because the NFL is filled with guys who are either at the top of their position or at the very least in the top 5, top 10 in the position in the entire NFL that weren't first round picks. That probably weren't the second round pick. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So you gotta find those guys that can be game changers and say, yes, this is the guy that we've identified that brings that missing talent that we need and put him into his defense, offense, special teams, whatever.
So, who are some guys out there that we can potentially plug and play? Like you're saying, day one, they're coming into the league. They're league ready to start in the NFL. Is there anybody that comes to mind?
I think for me, the only guy that, you know, that in my opinion is that guy, and from what I've been reading, the Dolphins would be very lucky if he fell to him, is Will Johnson, the cornerback from Michigan.
Okay.
Certified game changer, a dude who's a ball hawk, right? Has had multiple seasons, back to back now, where he was able to get interceptions and shit. Led the team once in interceptions, like deflected balls is always up in the 50s. Like, these are things that you look at when it comes to a defensive back and say, can he handle NFL type wide receiver talent? You know what I mean? And not just be there, but make the play, right? Get the interception, break up the pass, all of that stuff, right? Get good positioning. Don't get out jumped. You know, don't get lost in coverage. Will Johnson, I think, is the one guy right now that if we picked him at 13 and put him into this system, I feel like would be more than perfect. You know, especially with Anthony Weaver having a another option that he can go at and really mold from the get-go. Last year when Anthony Weaver came, you know, as a defensive coordinator, it's hard to really put your imprint on the team. And we didn't really see the defense play better until towards the end of the season. But I think with a guy like Will Johnson, that just gives him, you know, peace of mind, right? Like, hey, we have one cornerback, cool, we got him locked in. Now we're going to need another one. We can find a replacement, sign a veteran, whatever, to put him on the other side, depending what happens with the Jalen Ramsey deal. But I think that you need to lock down one side of the field right now, because we don't necessarily have brand name safeties. We don't necessarily have brand name cornerbacks behind Ramsey. So that would be the obvious pick for me, right? Like the other positions that we talked about that are needs, defensive tackles, right? Offensive line, obviously. Wide receiver is also a place that we could use some help.
You think our D-line, I'm sorry to cut you off, you think our D-line is in that much need of repair?
Here's what scares me about
that one. That one I think I'm good on. I'm okay with what we have there.
Right? We only have one true defensive tackle, which is Sealer, right? How much harder can you continue to push this guy before he breaks, right? I'm not trying to be in a position where I have to play him an extra 50 to 100 snaps just because the guy behind him can't play 100 snaps. You get what I mean? I want to try to keep him as fresh as possible for the season because he's such a difference maker, right? But again, a guy a year older in a tough position, how do you stay healthy? And when you look at the rest of the D-line, that's immediately what comes up, the health, right? Jalen Phillips, how healthy is he? Chubbs, how healthy is he? You know what I mean? Like, we lost Hand, who played some snaps at DT.
Right now, Benito Jones is our starting nose tackle.
No disrespect, right? No disrespect, but not necessarily a brand name, right? Not necessarily a guy that you look at and be like, yeah, that kid is going to be somebody in the next 2-3 years.
6'1", 335 pounds. He's 27 years old.
Yeah. So, like I said, I think that that's where the problem is when it comes to the D line. We don't have enough depth in that position to account for any possible injuries.
So
right?
nose tackle.
Nose tackle and D edge, right? Because the one guy that we can count on for sure, day one, training camp, that's gonna be there ready to fucking fully participate in practice is Chop. That's it.
Because of the injuries still to Jalen
Everybody else
Phillips
has a
and Brad
medical
Chubb.
question mark right behind their name. You fire at the name, a question mark, medical question mark right there. You know, so how do you depend on that? You don't. You build that up, right? So that's why I say D-line is a place that we can go to in those first 5 picks and say, let's get some more bodies in there. Let's get some more bodies in there. And obviously, offensive line. Offensive line is another one where I think that we need young, big bodies. I want offensive linemen that are 315, 320 pounds because we need to be able to create some type of push or at least withstand a push, right? If we can't get any forward momentum, let's at least hold them neutral at the line of scrimmage because then what we're doing is presenting Tua with an opportunity, right, to have time in the pocket, to find a throw or to allow our wide receivers to run a route. And that was a big drop-off that we saw last year, if you remember, bro. Like, we couldn't get anything down as far as timing goes.
No.
The timing was horrendous, and it was because Tua didn't have time to throw, right? And what's the main cause of that? The offensive line can't get a push. So you lose a veteran like Armstead, even though he would miss games here and there. This guy played through a lot of injuries. I think this is him handing off the baton to Patrick Paul is a big deal. And I think that's why I like the Patrick Paul move from last year, because when we drafted him, I was like, yes, Teron Armstead is not going to be here forever. He may miss games. We need to get a guy who we can slot in there, get some snaps while we still have Armstead, right? And let him learn off of him.
Sure.
And he did it, because when Armstead retired, he was like, hey, you guys are in good hands with Patrick Paul. Kid's going to learn a lot, but he's ready. He works hard. I've taught him everything that I know. That made me feel very comfortable about Patrick Paul. So that's why I'm not worried about left tackle. But if you're talking about guards, for sure we may need a guard. If you're talking about right tackle, for sure we might need another body there.
I just looked up mock draft projections right now. CBS Sports, one writer has the Dolphins choosing Jahdae Barron, cornerback from Texas.
Okay, he's probably like a backup because they're thinking that Will Johnson might not be there.
No, not on this projection. But anyways, yeah, they have Will Johnson going to Green Bay later on at 23. So they have him over Will Johnson.
Yeah,
but then
wild.
another guy has, well, this is going to be a tough one, Ariante Ursary,
Okay, good job.
offensive tackle from Minnesota. I like that, bro. Like that right there. Like, I don't know him. I don't even know the guy. I don't know what his credentials are. But like, I just want that O-line. We just need it, man. There's so much at stake if we don't have a good O-line. Like, then our run game, it's just non-existent. We don't have a run game. And if you don't have a run game, forget about it. Like, forget about the speed on the outside and Tua's arm. Like, nothing's going to be open because everything's going to be covered. So it all starts with the O-line, you know? So I like that. Another rider, a third one, Kelvin Banks.
Yep, that's one of the guys I had on my list.
Offensive tackle from Texas.
Yeah, big
So
kid.
two out of the 3 here on CBS are going offensive tackle. I'm wondering where the Dolphins front office heads at right now.
They have to be leaning. If you come out publicly, right, and say, yeah, we're working with Jalen Ramsey to get him traded, then that means that you're definitely going after a fucking cornerback, defensive back. Because there's no way that you're trading him for an offensive lineman, a wide receiver. You're getting picks in return from Ramsey, right? So maybe picks for this year, maybe picks for next year. We'll see how it goes.
They can use them to trade up.
They can use them to trade up to go get a guy that they really...
If there is somebody worth trading up for,
really worth it at that offensive tackle position or offensive guard position. But I think that those are the 2 areas that they're definitely honing in on, right? It has to be cornerback and it has to be offensive line because your 2 most veteran leadership, minded players in those positions are not going to be on your team next year. Teron Armstead is not going to be on the team next year. Jalen Ramsey is not going to be on the team next year.
10 picks, dog. 10, we have a lot of picks to work with. Granted, if nothing changes from here to then, you O-line, you can strengthen up. We can strengthen up that secondary, and then there's still room to work on
Everything
else. Linebackers,
wide
D-line.
receivers, because as Okama hasn't even really seen the field.
Maybe a kicker.
Unless we draft my boy. Unless we draft my boy, but I'm pretty sure Andy's gonna be gone before that gets there.
And no offense to Jason Sanders, you know what I'm saying, but
a lot of
young blood,
to him.
young blood. We need some young blood in the locker room.
Switch it up. But
Guy's like 27.
The draft is gonna be fun, bro. And it's gonna be cool, right? It's gonna be really cool to see Cam Ward make history, for the Hurricanes and get drafted first overall by Tennessee. That's going to be dope, right? One of the highest picks that we've ever had in that program.
Who's the other first-round pick that the Hurricanes have had?
Oh, we got a bunch of first-round picks, but first overall picks, I think it was like Vinny Testaverde.
I think so, too.
You know what I mean?
I think it was Testaverde.
And Cam Ward, no disrespect to Vinny, but Cam Ward shitted on his records and on his shit, you know what I mean? So, like, my man is like a certified number one. But it's going to make the draft exciting for Hurricane fans, obviously, right? To see Cam go up there, first-round pick. And then, 12 picks after that, the Dolphins will be selecting, hopefully, what will be a starter in one of those two positions that we talked about, offensive line or defensive back.
If recent history is any indication, I'm going to say,
offensive line.
They're what?
Offensive line.
I was going to say, like, whoever it is, it's probably somebody that is league ready.
Yeah,
that doesn't need to be necessarily developed, or the learning curve might be a little bit shorter for them, as compared to other people. We've just seen that. We've seen guys be able to come in, and we look at Chop. Chop's the most recent example.
Yeah.
Able to come in, make an immediate impact, contribute in and out, play in and out, big situations, and come up with big plays for us. So we can keep that going. That would be great. But I'm excited, man. The draft is this Thursday.
Starts
at what time?
8 o'clock, round number 1, 8 o'clock. And your boy SoSo's going to be at the Hard Rock Live, baby.
Woo, a little draft party?
Little draft party with the boys.
Football in April.
Sports book. It's going to be fun.
Can we bet on, no.
I'm pretty sure you can bet on
that makes on the number 1 overall pick.
Nah, that one's already.
Yeah, it's pretty much a lock.
6,000.
Yeah, I would bet it's a heavy favorite. But that's dope, man. Enjoy that. It's going to be pretty cool.
It's going to be cool, bro. It's going to be cool, man. I'm really excited. My biggest takeaway from this draft is that the Dolphins got to walk away with 3 starters. And I think that those first 5 picks, it's
doable.
It's doable because they're not key positions like running back, wide receiver, quarterback. They're key positions, but not, those main things that will get a team rolling. They can come in and really just help supplement what we got going on right now.
Hell yeah.
And listen, there's a lot of questions about this draft. There's a lot of questions about this Dolphins team.
Yep.
There's a lot of questions about this upper management team.
Yep.
A lot of questions about the coaching staff.
A lot more questions than answers.
Yeah.
But I'm looking forward to the draft and
am I.
hearing your feedback on whoever we do draft. So
it'll be dope.
I'll be following along.
Tune in. Let's talk about the Heat. You got the Wade jersey on?
Oh, I had to throw it on. It doesn't fit me like it used to, so I'll be honest with you. But it's playoff time, and I'm back in on the Heat, dog. I'm back in. I'm back
It
on
was
the
those
Heat.
2 playing victories that got everybody back.
Brother, let me tell you, those were phenomenal games.
Great games.
Phenomenal games, man. The boys really stepped it up in those 2 games. The first one, we played the Bulls.
Yeah.
And we've had the Bulls number.
We own those guys in the play.
So it was like, you guys should be able to. Like, if you don't, that shows how bad we are right now. And we got it done. We were able to make it happen. And then we got the opportunity to beat the Hawks.
Yes.
And that's another team. When I saw it, I was like, dude, we can beat the Hawks. Actually, I think the only game I went to this season was against the Hawks, and we dogged them.
Yeah.
But we were hot that night shooting, and that's what we needed to do, and that's what we did. Tyler Hero is really stepping up.
Bam.
One of the biggest criticisms I've always had of Tyler Hero was come playoff times, he disappears. Those 2 playing tournament games that decided our fate into the playoffs or not, the boy really stepped up.
He really did, bro. And I was talking to Joel, man. Shout out my dog, Joel. I was talking to him about this Heat season and what we should be looking forward to in this quick playoff run. And the main thing that I kept coming back to is like, man, Tyler Hero has really become a star. Maybe not a superstar, but he's definitely a star in this league, right?
Sure.
A guy that the other team looks on the draw board and say, hey, hero, try to limit him to these areas, and it's like half court, because he's so good at creating offense. He's gotten a lot tougher. He's taking on a lot more responsibility, and I think it shows in his play, man. When they interviewed him after the Chicago game, he's like, "We're packed." You know what I'm saying? Like, we packed for a long road trip. We're focused. We know what we need to do, what our goal is, and we're ready to play. That's leadership type shit. You know what I mean? And that's what I really wanted to see from Tyler or from Bam earlier in the season. We had talked about it, like which one of these two players is gonna take the mantle and say, yo, I'm gonna run with this and I'm gonna make myself a Heat legend. Right now it's looking like Hero, and he's been so consistent in these last 2 weeks for the Heat. Just been honestly the bright spot for this Heat season has been Tyler Hero, 100%.
Absolutely. He's not the only bright spot, though, man, because
he's the brightest.
He's the brightest, but there's a couple of other things that helped us. It wasn't just solely Tyler Hero. I think he had 38, maybe against the Bulls or against 36. The Hawks, something like that. You know what I mean? He had a phenomenal game, but, a couple other guys, man. One of the guys that really comes to mind, especially in those two games, Davion Mitchell.
Brother.
I mean, this kid, man, has been playing like Donovan Mitchell, kind of. You know what I mean? Sorry, I don't want to say that. I know we're playing him now. We're going to get to that series now, and there's no comparing Spider Mitchell. But, the kid, has the last name, and he has the 4-5, and it's like, he can hit some big threes in the moment, and that's what he did for us in the play-in tournament, and he can control the offense and kind of get it up the court, and defensively, he can lock people up. What's his nickname? Off day, because whenever he's guarding you, you're going to have an off day.
Yeah.
So, like, he has that real Heat culture. I heard them talking about it in the broadcast. Like, if there's a player, like certain players come in and, like, they're like, they're Heat players, but, like, do they really, like, fit? Like, this guy came in and it's like, this guy should have been a Heat player day one.
Certified dog.
And that's one of those guys, man. Another bright spot, man. I want to give him a shout-out. Kel'el Ware.
Yeah.
Playing real big.
Yeah.
Not doing crazy stuff out there. Like, it might go unnoticed, but, he's had a big impact when he is down there as far as taking up space in the paint and all that stuff.
For sure. And it's funny, neither one of those two guys were on the team last year, right?
Right.
And they've both been able to integrate themselves into this Heat culture and really, absorb it for what it is, learn from it, work on it, continue to build on it, and it's showing up in the gameplay. You mentioned Mitchell, and he, was my third bright spot because I wasn't expecting to get a player back like that in that trade. Nah. And when he came and I got to witness his game and see how he plays, that dude is a straight up dog. A straight up dog. He reminds me of Haslam in the way of like, bro, I'm going to shut you down, and I'm going to tell you that I'm shutting you down, and it's going to suck for you. I'm not going to make it a good experience for you. He's out there talking to other players, talking shit, you know what I'm saying, standing on business, really defending, playing hardcore D, never giving up on balls, diving for loose balls, trying to grab loose rebounds. Like, this kid is really embodying, what it is that Heat culture is about. And I think that's why the fans have been able to relate to him so easily, right?
Absolutely, bro. He's a perfect fit.
And you mentioned Ware, bro. Like, dog, honestly, he's got to be one of the best rookies we've had in the last 10 years. Maybe not the best, but you got to put him in the top 5 because at that position,
big,
and have the impact. Joel, because he's definitely not a liability on offense or defense. So he's giving you something on offense where you can have him in the paint, right? We saw him score so many alley-oop dunks this year, but he can also hit a 3 if they leave him open, and he feels comfortable taking them. So that's a plus. Then you flip it over to the defensive side. People think like, oh, you're 7'2", you should be blocking everything. No, but you're not gonna block everything because if you do go for the block, you're probably gonna end up fouling. But what he does do a lot, and I encourage you guys to notice this in the next game when he plays, is how much he alters shots. You know what I mean? Like when he goes up, he's making these guys fucking move around.
That's because his arms are so long.
Shooting it much higher, trying to put arc on it, spin on it.
They have to, just to get around them, dog. It's impossible.
Massive.
No, yeah, bro. It's obviously we had him all year. Mitchell, he just came in and stuff with Wiggins or whatever, which is also another component as to what we saw in that play-in tournament. And those guys are still figuring out their chemistry. They figured it out at the right time and became the first 10th seed to ever make it to the playoffs, which is amazing, a huge accomplishment.
Yeah, it really is a big accomplishment because it just shows you that no matter where this team falls in the fucking standings, you have to be careful because we will take your fucking lunch. and we'll eat it right there in front of you, and then pack it up and put it right back in your lunchbox. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but now we're facing a Goliath
Now we're facing
in the
a
Cleveland
Goliath.
Cavaliers.
But here's what I will say, right? Because I noticed this in game one. Cleveland had to really dig that victory out because they only got that big game off the bench from Ty Jerome. Fucking guy had 28
Bro,
points. Couldn't miss a fucking shot.
we got
Hitting
cooked.
every single three.
So we got cooked by a white guy named Jerome.
Ty Jerome.
Wild.
But
Never thought I'd see
nobody
the
else, there was only one other player on that bench that had 6 points. Everybody else that had 10 or more minutes had a fucking donut as far as scoring. So we did our job as far as just limiting the offense or whatever they could get to Mitchell and this dude that popped off. But I think like for the Heat, we lost that battle because we couldn't get enough rebounds. You know what I mean? They're taller than us.
And these second chance points, like those
Second chance
50-50
points.
balls that like got popped up in the air maybe, like a
Right.
steal or something, and a loose ball scrum, and we never got any of those, dog. On top of the fact that they weren't missing anything, like you said, you know,
Right.
if it wasn't Jerome, everybody else was lights out.
Yeah, Mitchell
But then
went off, dog.
the biggest thing, you kind of talked about it earlier, and I wanted to save it till we got to this conversation. You know, Tyler Hero becoming a star and doing what he did in the play-in tournament attracted a lot of attention.
Yeah,
And when you attract a lot of attention, you're going to attract even more attention
yeah.
every game they're on. And they did a good job locking down Tyler Hero, dog. They game planned for him. They made sure, hey, their offense runs through him, shut him down. He didn't have quite the game that he had in the play-in tournament, and that was because of the fact that the Cavs really shut him down.
Yeah, they focused on him, and you can tell, right? And it's crazy that we point to the kid, right, that has the superstar tendencies or abilities, and be like, damn, dog, this guy had a bad game, and he scored 21 points. You know what I mean? But it was a bad game because he left so many points out there. You know what I mean? He had good looks at threes and stuff like that, and they just weren't falling.
He went 7 for 18 shooting.
Yeah, 7 for 18, not great.
Not great.
And you still end up with 20 points. That means that you got some threes, you got to the free throw line, and I think that was the biggest thing for Tyler, you know, and he's going to have to learn, right? Because before he had the help of somebody else playing really well besides him, right? Like Jimmy was playing really well besides him. You'll have Bam playing really well besides him. And maybe we cannot count on that. Even though Bam had a good game, he had 24 points. Offensively, let's say, right? But for Hero, I think that, you know, he has to learn now being, hey, you're the main person that they're going to game plan with. How do you attack that? How do you switch it up in game? What are you doing differently? What are you communicating to your coach to be like, yo, this isn't working. Let's switch it up. They're doing this, whatever, right? So I feel like this is going to be a good series for him to learn how to manage that. That doesn't mean that I expect them to win this series, right? Obviously, because Cleveland showed why they're the better team. They were able to out-rebound and out-shoot us.
To recap, Cleveland beat us 121-100 in the first game of the series.
The game got away in the fourth quarter, right?
It absolutely did. It was a lot closer throughout it, but I think even at the half, it might have been like an 8-10 point game.
Yeah, it was an 8-point game. With the Heat shooting bad in the first half.
We didn't have our best day, and they had a phenomenal day. They did really well. So those two things, it's going to equal that. But let me ask you this question. Was it me, or did Tyler Hero have a big red scratch on his neck and chest that day?
He did. I don't know from what, though. I don't know
it had to have been from them really D'ing him up, dog. Like
they were on him.
They really flustered him, bro. Like, they didn't let him do what he normally does. Exactly.
Full court pressure. Max
Strus, bro, his former teammate, bro,
his
his boy.
Guy. Nah, we love him, but fuck him.
I love Max Strus, bro.
Yeah,
like I wish we still had that guy on our team, bro.
Wearing a Cavs uniform, my dog.
I wish we still had that guy, bro. And Donovan Mitchell too, bro. Like, that kid is greatness, bro. Anytime that kid's on the floor, you gotta just shut up and watch, bro.
Papa, you're talking about one of the best offensive talents that this game has seen in Donovan
Bro, it's
Mitchell.
incredible what that guy does. And then, dog, at the end, I don't know if you saw his interview at the end of the game.
Yeah.
Like the responses he gave and shit like that. It's like
a little weird.
No, it was like consummate professional, bro. Like, that's what you want out of your guy, bro. You want everything that guy just said right now. Like,
I thought he was gonna
job's
be a
not
little bit
done.
more
This is only
hyped
one game. We got to get the series, and even then, job's not. You know what I mean? Like, my guys are here. You know what I mean? Like, they're the reason that we're here. I'm just doing my part.
I thought he was gonna come out and say, like, I need to do better. Like this was
No,
a
how much
good
better
game.
can he
Oh,
do?
he could have played a lot better, dog.
Not when you
Trust
got
me.
Ty Jerome putting up 28.
Oh,
You don't
yeah,
need to.
maybe you don't have to, right? But he could have played better for sure. But all of that to say, like, yeah, Cleveland is outright
He had
the better
30,
team.
30 points, 5 rebounds, and 4 assists, so.
He could have played better.
How much better do you want?
Look at his shooting percentages, is what I'm saying.
I mean, I'm just pulling this up quick, bro. 30 points,
but-
though? If you think Tyler Hero's 21 is
But
nice.
Tyler Hero is a bad game at 21 points because he shot bad, right? Mitchell probably would have hit us for 45 had he been shooting a little bit better.
Let's see, I'm gonna
a
look it
little
up
bit
now.
better. He wasn't that great from 3 that night. I think it was like 2 or 6 or some shit like that. But yeah, Mitchell's nasty, dog.
Nasty, bro. We missed by not
He's
getting him,
nasty.
dog.
But to the Hero thing, to wrap up the Hero thing, I think that was Cleveland's game plan because even in the first quarter, whenever Tyler Hero would come down, like let's say Cleveland would score a bucket and Mitchell would be there and Hero would be here, right? And they're trying to get the inbounds going. There wouldn't be anybody on Mitchell. There would only be somebody on fucking Tyler Hero because they didn't want Tyler Hero to bring up the ball.
Right.
So I guess we have to make that adjustment, and he has to make that adjustment mentally to be like, all right, what do I have to change, to circumvent that and figure out a different way to attack these guys.
Yeah, and get open.
Because he's our
Get the
best
ball.
option.
We got to get the ball in his hand.
If the objective is don't get swept, right? Because I think that's the objective.
I agree.
It's not win this fucking series. Let's be honest, right? The
I
objective
think they
is
would disagree. I think they would say that the objective is
They
to win the
would
series.
disagree
But
because
us as
they're in
fans,
it. They're in
as
it.
fans watching and knowing the realization, it's like
Right.
we just want to make it a competitive series.
no matter what, they have to believe inside that locker room. Everything outside that
Yeah.
locker room doesn't matter,
But
right?
make it competitive,
But
dog.
make
Don't let
it
us get swept.
competitive, right? And I think that who can make this as competitive as possible? Well, Tyler Hero can go tit for tat pretty much with Mitchell. You know what I mean? If we're talking about just scoring the ball, he's gonna be able to go tit for tat. It was encouraging to see Bam put up 24 points in the way that he played because I felt like he played a lot more aggressive, right? And I think that that's a big key for this team. Like they need both of those guys to be ultra aggressive all the time. When I don't got it, you go ham, and when you don't got it, I'm going ham, and we'll try to carry this team like that. Now, am I saying that they're gonna get a victory in Cleveland on Wednesday? Probably not. But if you're gonna steal a game,
That would be
that's
the
the
one.
one to steal, right? Because they're probably coming off that high of game 1. They thinking that they got us figured out, and we just haven't played our best basketball yet. But I'm confident that we'll make it at least a 5-game series and get one, right? Whether it's here at home or on the road, whatever. Because I see like the sparks are there, We see the things starting to come together. This team would be a lot different if we had extra players adding to it. But right now, it's only been really 4 guys that have been playing well, right? It's Hero, it's Bam, it's Mitchell, and it's Ware. And it's
Yeah, you can throw Wiggins in there.
Not
He'll
enough
be
for
good
me.
for 15 points a night, you know what I
But
mean?
that's
And some
not enough
defense.
for
But
me.
I agree. We need more out of
we
Wiggins.
need more, right?
And to some extent, I want to press Bam. I want to say Bam. We need more out of Bam.
Yeah, keep it
like
up.
there's just more that yeah, the stats are great at the end. Oh shit, you look at that. He had that many points and that many. All right, cool. But it's like, is it being impactful? Is it
Right,
having an impact on the flow of the game and helping your team? Is it a spark? Are you doing shit? And I've kind of not seen that with Bam, where it's like, it's just kind of we're going through the motions and he's not really having that much of an impact. And if he pulls up and takes one more 3 like he's Chris Bosh, bro,
I mean,
I'm
they
gonna go
want him to
ballistic.
shoot it, dog.
Bro, I would rather
But
your
he's just
big
not
ass
good.
get down there
Yeah,
and
but he's
bang
not
in the
that
post,
big.
bro.
He's not that big.
I get that, bro,
The
but
idea should
he's
be-
also not a 3-point shooter like
I
Bosh
get it.
was.
So then we have to find the happy medium, which is the jump shot, right? Use the jump shot more often. He was aggressive around the basket. I will say that, because he did take it up a couple of times. He had a couple of lobs that they threw to him, and he was able to finish them around traffic. But yeah, I think you have to get more comfortable with shooting that jumper. Shoot that jumper. That Udonis UD 14-16 fielder. Hit that shit 24/7 and at least make him work that way because you're opening up the paint even more so for Khalil Ware, right? To do his thing down there. But yeah, I think Bam and Hero, it all starts with them. As far as we go with those 2 guys offensively is how the rest of the team will go.
Yep.
Because we can't really rely on anybody else to just provide that spark consistently. We need those 2 main guys being the main guys, and everybody else will fall in accordingly. The game 2 is going to be the one to steal if you're going to steal a game.
Wednesday night, 7:30 tip off.
Yep. And then game 3 Saturday, game 4 on Monday, and then game 5, because it will happen, is on Wednesday in Cleveland. the following Wednesday. But yeah, the Heat do have a chance to make this a respectable series, but I don't think they have a realistic shot to win the series. And that's no diss on them. It's just the way that the team has been built, the cards that they've been dealt on a horrendous season, which they already know. They're probably like we talked about last time, right? They're probably already looking ahead, targeting team players and shit like that they want to go after. So. Yeah, let's see how the season ends, because we know that this off season is going to bring about some change, and I've always said it, I think that in order for this team to make the next step, we need to identify the players that we want to keep, right? The one or two big names that we want to keep, and the rest of the guys are expendable.
Yeah.
And that's it. But yeah, let's see. Let's go Heat. Let's try to get this dub tonight.
Let's go Heat.
Let's do it. Speaking of getting victories, or getting a dub at least, I need these Panthers to fucking pull one off tonight in Toronto. In Tampa Bay, excuse
I'm
me.
about to say, dog,
No,
we're
in
playing
Tampa Bay.
our in-state rivals, dog.
Tampa
Bay Lightning.
The hated, highly hated Tampa Bay Lightning. And I don't know why we hate them, but I think I take that back. I know exactly why we hate them.
we know why.
We know why we hate them, because they're a bunch of fucking pretenders. You know what I mean? Nah, we really don't like them because of how many times we played, right, each other, and how many times they kicked us out of the playoffs and shit like that.
Yeah.
Before we got the revenge and kicked them out.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right. So now it's a legitimate rivalry, because
Now it's legit.
For a while there it was kind of one-sided, where they were
Yes.
just dogging us.
Yes.
And then we built the team that we have now, and it was like, now we're the big dog. And they're back in it. They got a good team.
Hey, listen.
And we got a hell of a series on our hands.
Absolutely. Anytime you can get home ice advantage, that's always a big deal in the NHL, right? And the Panthers were holding that position 3 weeks ago, right? And then they had that losing streak. They had injuries. They couldn't get it together. Had some breaks in games, and it was just a rough ending to the season for the Panthers, right? But the good news was that they were sacrificing these games to get their players healthy, to get guys rested, to get guys back on track for this playoff run.
Yes.
And that's a risk and a gamble that Paul Maurice and his crew has taken. And I personally think I think it's going to be one that works, simply for the reason that the guys that you're getting back are big glue guys, right? And those glue guys are so important in fucking hockey.
I mean,
Breaking
come
news
on.
The way here.
Come on.
Activated fucking Matty Tkachuk, so he's a game time decision, but he might lace it up and play tonight with his boys.
So by the time you guys are hearing this, the game would have already happened. We're recording this
Panthers
right
would have
before
won.
the game. Yep, that's gonna be the game plan. But yeah, Matthew Tkachuk just got announced, so there's a chance that he plays. I personally don't think he will.
Right.
I think that they're activating him so that he can slowly get back into this now and be maybe at some point in this series, if not for the next series. But
Sure.
the sooner the better. We
Yeah.
need the guy. You just said it. He's the ultimate glue guy.
He's the ultimate glue guy, the undisputed leader of the team, and pretty much the driving force behind this Panthers team. And ever since he's come, his impact has been beyond, measure, because what he does individually, right, for each player, and what he does for the team is really insurmountable when it comes to how much of himself he gives the team, right? And having a guy like him back in the locker room, having him back on the ice for practice, having him around for shoot around and shit, that shit makes a big deal, because it lifts the energy, it lifts the responsibility, it lifts the level of play, it lifts the seriousness of what it is that we're doing, right? Because he's gonna bring that tone. And Matty Tkachuk is our fucking MVP, and he's our most important player. So why not have him rested as much as you can, right, for the playoffs? I'm with you, right? I think that tonight they're cautious and they don't necessarily run him out there, but I wouldn't be surprised if he played 15 or 20 minutes, just to get some ice time and get acclimated to the
Right.
game speed again. And even for game 3, we'll have a big return to the team in Aaron Ekblad.
Beautiful.
He got suspended for the PEDs.
Right.
Have to miss
Allegedly.
20, 30 games or whatever. But now he's back for the playoffs, and this is another glue guy.
We're gonna need him
a
for
guy
the
who's
series.
been here, knows the system, knows how we need to work, what it takes to win. I just think that those two guys coming back into this team that is really healthy now, right? And as far as star players, role players, everybody's really healthy. So it just gives me that confidence to say, yeah, I can see the Panthers, quote unquote, being the underdog in this series.
So I'm glad you
right?
mentioned that. Yeah, we're a
still
slight
getting the win.
underdog. We're according to the Hard Rock app, we're a slight underdog, -105 to
For tonight.
-115 for the first
tonight,
game.
right?
Yeah,
Yeah, for
which
the
is
first game.
probably just home ice, like you had mentioned.
Right. That's the flip of the coin, right?
Right.
Because if you're looking at both teams, there's obviously enough history between them, and you can say, well, this series is pretty much even right now, and whoever has the better players on the ice at this specific time in the third period, they're probably going to end up winning the game. I think the biggest thing that gives us confidence is the role that Big Bob has been playing in these runs. You know what I mean? Being there back to back years, going through the motions of being the best goalkeeper, being pulled, being asked to do something mid-game. Like he's so seasoned, right, that he knows what he has to do in order to give his guys a shot. And I think that's our biggest difference between us and Tampa Bay, right? Like our defensive linemen have such a good relationship with the goalie that they could almost sense where the other one is at other times and shit like that. So it makes clearances, passing, checking, all that important stuff on the defensive end, makes it run a lot smoother. You know what I mean? Because Big Bob is back there and he has that confidence of the team. But I really think that this team is going to lean on Ekblad because he's fresh. He's been dying to get back on the ice. Couldn't even be in the fucking building to practice with the dudes or nothing like that while he was serving his suspension. So imagine that's like being in fucking detention while everybody's playing outside in free period and you're stuck inside and you can see all these guys playing and you're driving crazy. So the moment he gets let loose, yeah, he's coming out with a ball of energy. He's going to be a ball of fire. And that might just be the spark that the Panthers need to get this playoff push going. Because it's going to be a tough one, not having home ice in a majority of the series that we'd be playing up into the Cup. It's going to be tough. But if there's one team that is built to handle things like this, it's definitely the Panthers, right?
I would think so, dog. I mean, we're the same team that we had last year for the most part. We lost a couple players, but we got the core,
players.
And we added. What's up with Marchand?
He's been playing, bro. He's been on the second and third line contributing. I think he's up to 2 goals and like 3 assists. Just getting those points and just being there, being a defensive bother, being a name that other teams are like, oh shit, we got to pay attention to him.
I think he's going to be the guy to look at in this series because of the fact that, obviously, I mean, it's he's the guy, he was the guy up for the Bruins or whatever and all that. But he's not our guy, so people aren't really game planning for him. So if Kachuk comes out there, or you got Verhaeghe, you got Reinhart, you got Bennett, whoever, you know what I mean? They might not be playing for Marchand, and it's like, dog, you have to be playing for Marchand because how much playoff experience does that guy have? How many big games has that guy been in? You know what I mean? So that's a guy right there that can all of a sudden flip the switch now. Mm-hmm. I know he was dealing with a little bit of injury when we first acquired him and all that. Yeah. He can flip the switch now and be, one of the biggest contributing factors in this series for the Panthers.
Huge factor for the Panthers in this series. And that's a great call because, one thing that this Panthers team does not lack is experience. Every single person on this team has either been on a playoff run, was on this championship run, was on the heartbreaks that we've endured. So they're well versed when it comes to what needs to happen in order to win a series, what needs to happen in order to win a game on the road, right? And that's why I think that us being underdogs in the series, I can't really see it. We're the fucking defending champs, and we just got better.
I mean, I like it, though. If anything, it puts a chip on your shoulder,
But I like it.
Let's go out there and prove to them that even when we're on the road, we're still the favorite, or we should still be the favorite.
We're going to be the best team on the ice, and we're going to be the team with the most grit. I'm really, really excited for this game against Tampa Bay.
Do you see this game going 7?
No.
This series going 7 games?
No, I think it'll be over in 5 or 6 games.
Wow.
Yeah, 5 or 6 games. Because not only are these two teams very familiar, but like once you lose the leverage to your in-state rival, your biggest rival, it's really hard to get that back. You know what I mean? So if the Panthers steal one up there, come down here 1-1, win both games at home, heading back up to Tampa 3-1, yeah, it's going to be hard for Tampa to fucking flip that switch and get that game. Knowing that they have to come down here and would have to take that game from us as well. Yeah. And I've always said this, the Panthers are one of the best teams in the NHL over the last 5 years when it comes to home ice. Yeah. So we're a tough team to beat on the ice, and we could beat you on the road. Yeah, it wouldn't be surprised for me to see this series go 5 games, 6 max.
Interesting.
Yeah, and obviously I got the Panthers winning.
It starts tonight, dog, for us. By the time you're watching this show, I already know. So,
Panthers winning. Go get you something.
You'll be
at
looking
Rally's.
forward to game 2, which is, do you know when the series schedule is on this?
Game 2 is on Wednesday, I believe. Yeah, they'll have back Wednesday. No, what's today? Tuesday. No, game 2 is Thursday, Sunday, and then back to Tuesday. So they do it like that. They're on alternate days of the heat. So we
Okay,
get Panthers
perfect.
Heat, Panthers Heat, Panthers Heat.
Perfect.
Yeah, really nice when that shit works out.
Yeah, I
like
hate when they both are on the same day, dog. Like,
yeah,
what are we
there's not
doing?
enough TVs, right?
What do we got going on here? But
Unless you're watching it on the fucking VR shit. and
yeah,
can
you
have
got it
both.
all set up. I'm not
we're
there
not at
yet.
that level. We're not at
I
that
just
level.
got one TV, dog.
Let's go Panthers. Vamos gatos.
Let's go.
Let's pull off this dub. Yeah, that was a pretty good Panther.
Yeah,
That was a
I'm
pretty
working
good
on my
Panther.
growl.
That's pretty good. We got 2 quick honorable mentions.
Yes,
First
sir.
and foremost, we got the Masters, 89th Masters winner, Rory McIlroy in the house. What's up, my boy? Dog,
Rory
what an
McIlroy, man.
achievement. What an achievement to witness, dog. For you, you've been a golf fan for much longer than I have, right? And
Not much longer, but yeah, it's a
to
little
not
bit.
have seen something like
Sure.
this happen for the amount of time that you've been into golf is kind of crazy. And then
That is cool, yeah.
for me to see it in the short time that I've been watching golf is like, damn, I just saw something that I may not see again ever in my life. You know what I mean? Like,
Just witness history, bro. Yeah, he's
wild.
the 6th player to complete the career Grand Slam.
yep,
by
not
winning-
a Tiger Slam, but he completed it.
Well, Tiger Slam is special. That's his own thing,
So
but
it's on his own level.
yeah, it's his whole other level. But just a career Grand Slam. Only 6 guys in the history of golf have been able to
Crazy,
do
dog.
it.
Crazy.
So it's impressive. It's something dope to watch. I've never been the biggest Rory guy. I've never been
Yeah, yep.
a huge advocate for Rory. There's other players that I like better than him. Do I admire his ball striking and his swing? Absolutely. Who doesn't? The guy is pure.
obviously
But
one of the best
some of
players.
the off-course stuff, you know what I mean, that factors into who Rory McIlroy is, I'm not the biggest fan of. But I was rooting for him that Sunday, just again to see that, to be able to witness history. He's been playing some great golf this year. A lot of people, were rooting for him, and it was just kind of nice to be a part of that and be like, yeah, it would be cool to see that happen and for him to see it, especially here. We got to have a few of the guys over, hang out, all of us watch together, get, witness a piece of history together. It's certain moments like that you look back and you remember exactly where you were when that happened.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And if you haven't already, follow Miami Golf Bros on Instagram. Go relive those moments that Joel pieced up for you guys. Yeah, it was just amazing to see, right? And that was my biggest thing before the tournament started. I was like, man, maybe Rory can pull it off. He had already won twice earlier this year, had built up some good momentum, and he rolled that momentum into that 3rd day and really used that as a springboard to kind of separate himself from the rest of the guys in the pack and really cement his spot in the leaderboard. It wasn't easy, right? Because it did come down to the 18th hole. And
It was very
tying
dramatic, very dramatic.
Into a playoff with Justin Rose.
Justin Rose birdies 18 to tie it.
Yes.
Rory bogeys 18.
Yep. To
Right? Or
to go into,
that's
yeah.
He bogeys it to go into the
To go into the
playoff.
playoff.
He just needed a par to win, and he bogeys it. And then they go to the playoff, and he just hits 2 amazing shots to
No,
close them
Justin
out.
hit an amazing shot on his approach to get it within like maybe 10 feet of the
Yeah,
cup.
but Rory stuck
and
it.
Rory stuck it on there for pretty much a fucking
And
tap.
it was a wrap, man. It was
But you know what?
very up and down.
Very honorable mention.
first Masters champion with 4 double bogeys on
Crazy.
the card.
Yeah, one of
Nobody's
us.
ever done that.
One of us. We do have to give an immense shout out to Justin Rose, not only for playing the way that he did, right? He played an excellent round of golf on Friday, on Saturday, and even better round
Friday
on
or
S- on
Thursday.
Sunday.
Thursday was his best round. I
Thursday
think.
was his best
6,
round.
7 under.
Yeah. Thursday was his best rounds. Played really well Saturday and Sunday, keeping himself in the mix, right? And the way he handled himself with class after Rory won, and congratulated him,
Absolutely.
stayed there and was like, bro, you deserve this.
Yeah.
I'm thankful I was able to be a part
Yeah,
of this.
exactly.
You know what I mean? Like,
Instead of making it about him.
you know what I mean? And it was just, bro, the ultimate level of real professionalism.
Yeah.
Right? Real professionalism. Regardless of
It's
the
a
sport.
gentleman's game, man, and he was a true gentleman after that.
Bro, Justin is a real good guy. You
Yeah.
could just tell that he's a real good dude, and
Yeah, his
that's
wife,
one of those guys that you
even-
meet and you're like, damn, bro. I
Even
met
his
this
wife was
dude.
congratulating
Yeah,
Rory after,
you know?
like, hey, man, this is special. Everybody recognizes how special that was.
It's amazing, bro. It's amazing. The
Really cool to
89th
witness.
Masters tournament did not disappoint.
Did
bro.
not. It
It really
delivered.
didn't. Shout out to all the boys too who came
Yeah.
through, man.
Yeah, it was a great time.
Yeah. Last one. UFC 314 went down in Miami. We got a new lightweight champion in Volkanovski back on the top of the hill. It was good to see him win because I felt like, when you saw, and we talked about this with Jesse, you know what I mean? Like, when you suffer knockouts, it's hard to come back in the fight game.
Right.
And he suffered 2 bad knockouts, obviously chasing history and glory and all that stuff. But he just showed that night why he is the best in that division. If Ilya Topuria, whatever. Topuria is not going to be in it. He's definitely the best one standing. The only issue is like, how much longer can he keep the reign up, right? Like, he's a little bit on the older side. Now you got all these young guns coming after you, including the young gun that won that night, which is Patty Pimilton. And he won in an impressive fashion, choking out Michael Chandler, beating up Michael Chandler realistically first, and then choking him out on a big pay-per-view. Yeah, that's impressive, Some people would say, the enthusiasts, right, would say that Michael Chandler has lost a little bit of that X factor.
Yeah.
But for Patty, it doesn't matter, bro. You're mowing down the dudes that they put in front of you. And the bigger the name is, the bigger your performance is, right?
Sure.
And he put on a hell of a performance that Saturday night, bro. I really enjoyed it.
UFC Miami, man, it's a hit every time they do it here. So
I love it, dog.
They're gonna keep bringing it back.
Absolutely. I hope they bring a show at least once a year.
It makes sense
because it's such a fun environment.
What they got to work out though is they got to try to make it March 5th. Like, if they can make it somewhere, like, or I know it changes every year. You know what I mean? But like, if you could do it on 305 weekend, dog, you know what I mean?
Crazy.
You do it in Miami, like it'll be crazy.
That'll
be dope.
Crazy. Yeah, take notes, UFC.
Yeah, shows that they're really invested in the community and all that.
You own the rights to that intellectual property.
That's right. But yeah, another great card. Thanks to Uncle Dana.
Another great card, man. And you know what? As a matter of fact, we'll be watching some UFC that weekend while we're on the golf trip.
We got a lot of sports that week.
Yeah, bro. Playoffs will be
gonna
in
be a
full
great
swing. NHL and basketball.
I think we have the PGA Championship.
PGA Championship is
I think we have that during the day. Basketball, hockey at night.
It's gonna be a
UFC
good
that weekend.
time.
It's gonna be amazing. I can't wait.
Be a good time. But we're slowly but surely getting there little by little. But we need your support along the way. And how can you support? By hitting that like, comment, and subscribe button.
And thank you to every one of you that has already subscribed.
Yes.
We appreciate you guys so much.
10,000 plus.
We just have to let that be known. That's something we are very happy with. So thank you guys for subscribing. If you haven't already, it's very simple. It doesn't cost you anything. Hit subscribe down below.
And even if you already did that, you know what you can do to help out the show. You got to tell a friend.
To tell a friend.
To tell another friend.
To tell everybody they know.
To tell everybody they know about this amazing podcast that we got going on here. We're bringing you the flavor, we're bringing you the sports, and we're bringing you the topics that you care about. Until next time, peace.